I meditated on this. Yeah, I meditated on this. On this lesson, something heavy. Right before I drew it up, I meditated on this. I pondered on this. I focused and I asked Hawa to allow this lesson to reach only those it's supposed to reach. To inspire those that only are supposed to be inspired by this. I asked the Creator to allow this to be a pure water flow. 'Cause I know, I know, we almost there. I know we getting close, Shabbat. Peace to the tribe. Peace to the tribes. Ahab for the code keepers. We are back with another marvelous build. We're gonna get straight into it. Hala Hawa. Feels good to breathe with the real ones once again. Special appreciation to the Dracons. That is the Dragoons. We're gonna get right to it. So, I used to think that it was a certain type of curse that was attached to me, per se, right? Because I will always come out and say something, cause an awareness to a certain event or a stream of events that I felt like were just unfolding, alright, that were becoming something more than what they were, something more of an avalanche effect, right? And realizing in meditation, this is something that, is pretty common, especially through the bloodstream, right? And I realized that many of the ancestors gave plenty of warning. Plenty of warning. Many of the ancestors came out and tried to warn and give the tribe many heads up. You know what I'm saying? Heads up. Hey, it's about to go down. One of our ancestors for sure, at some point in his time, in their time, in her time, told the whole plane, man, the whole plane, that it would rain. Told the whole plane that it would rain. And nobody listened. Nobody. You know what I'm saying? Nah. Nobody. And it's these things that I have to, remind myself. Right? It's a reminder. Not only in just a metaphysical sense, but in a spiritual sense. That many have gone through what you're going through, what we're going through. Alright? So you are never alone. We are never alone. I say that to say, I've been trying to tell the tribe just how much of a marvel they truly are, you truly are, we truly are. How much of a marvel we really are. And how much, when really intact, when really tried up and choosing up with the Creator, that is the Great Spirit, the breath. We only talking Hawa. When you're intact, right? Everything's in harmony. When you have Ama, Abba, both masculine, feminine principle in perfect balance. By achieving that breath, you know what I'm saying? Restoring that key. It's an amazing flow. And the breakdown is a miracle, a thing, an act, event which causes astonishment, right? A wonderful story or legend. And although, you know, there are many ups and downs, smiles and frowns, your story is one of a kind, Shabbatah. You are one of a kind, Shabbatah. Some would even say that you're legendary. We are legendary. We're talking about a wonder, a surprise, a miracle. A miracle. Also, when dealing with the spelling of the word, alright, there is an attachment of a higher frequency. So immediately, you know, you should feel the flow. You should know the pure water stream and the energy that we're about to build into. But we just getting it like it's the first time. Alright? Because we're just talking marvel, which is a miracle. And you should know every time something of Marvel comes out, it has something to do with you. Just with the name alone. Let's get to it. So, connected to the word marvelous or marvel is miracle. Straight off the top. Alright, it's a wondrous work of Hawa. A wondrous work of Hawa. Alright. A marvelous event caused by, to wonder at, marvel, be astonished. Figuratively, to regard, esteem. Alright? Esteem, especially when we want to apply it to self-esteem. And, you know, overall confidence. Sometimes, you know, the vibration of a certain power, a certain powwow, becomes unlocked when diving deeper into certain words. And so it is always an aim and a goal of mine, and along, you know, with those that continue to drop the drops here at Drop Nation, to unlock, you know, such a vibration when surfing the wave. So we're just digging on miracle as a wondrous work of Hawa, or the Creator. Alright? Because we're only digging on marvel. And you see what's highlighted at the end, which is the L. I'm still talking Hawa. Because when we jump straight to miracle, you see miracle is a wondrous work of Hawa, right? Which is what Marvel is. Marvel. So, you know, you can feel the original frequency once you put it back into tone, because this isn't necessarily English. If you're picking up on what I'm putting down. We're just digging on miracle. Alright, a wondrous work of Hawa. Alright, another word would be L in the sense, but specifically we're speaking on Hawa. Alright, here we see power. Alright, so we're just building on what's to be regarded and high self-esteem. Okay. Wonder, a marvelous thing, a miracle, object of astonishment. Astonishment, object of astonishment. Be astonished, admire, make wonderful, magnify. Alright. Part 1, we were building on fame and how it was connected to Shem. And this goes into a lot of, today's society in a more perverted way, of course. We're going to go in a different direction for part 2, but they're still interconnected. Okay. Peace to the loved ones. We're just building on astonish. To stun, strike senseless. To stun, daze, deafen, astound. To thunder. To thunder. Now, this is what I want you to keep in mind as we bring this up. Alright, keep this in mind. And we're going to continue to flow. I hope you know. But keep in mind that astonish is to thunder. Because, we're talking about an overall situation. A specific situation, a tribal situation, which is a tribal flow. We're only digging on miracle and marvel. So I hope everyone is doing well as we just let these frequencies build and we vibe. I hope you're relaxed, you know what I'm saying? This is just a slight recap on something that I've been mentioning, and like I said, we have ancestors that have said many things over and over and over and over again. Maybe, this is a bit of what we do, especially when we're flexing that memory. Shout out to my real ones. See, you might just ask yourself, natural, what is it that's so marvelous? What is it that's such a miracle or miraculous? What is it about us that is such the astonishment? What's so astonishing? And when you get straight to it, right, you coincide with things that are not only natural, but provide a supernatural contribution to the realm that you currently exist in. What do I mean? Well, for instance, here we have an article, right, that reads, "Here comes the sun to end civilization." All right. And, it's the wrong imagery on my behalf. I'm not so concerned about the imagery. But I find it amusing that you come from a civilization that the same people would often say you centered the sun around your civilization, right? So how interesting is it that they're now saying the sun is here to end civilization? What civilization? Whose civilization? Which civilization are we talking about? And without the use of certain words to keep this at a certain flow, it's just amazing when you're able to put it in proper context. A lot of things begin to unlock. A lot of power begins to unlock. A lot of powwow begins to unlock. And you being a natural one, you coincide with the sun. Some might be even astonished at your pigmentation, your complexion. Some might even wonder how it feels to be you and to be in your skin. They may see that it's a miracle to naturally intake what the sun gives off. But only you can realize how marvelous that really is. Shout out to only you can really gain the power from such a realization. So, here they're talking about the sun bringing an end to civilization. To a photon, the sun is like a crowded nightclub. It's 27 million degrees inside and packed with excited bodies. Helium atoms fusing, nuclei colliding, positrons sneaking off with neutrinos. When the photon heads for the exit, the journey there will take on average 100,000 years. There goes that number again, right? And in case you don't know what I'm referring to, I'm talking about that 100,000 giant war. For those that's been surfing away when we put that out, right? Whenever we get on a certain build, they throw this number at us, 100,000. Alright. So, they're saying that basically once at the surface, the photon might set off solo into the night. Or if it emerges in the wrong place at the wrong time, it might find itself stuck inside a coronal mass ejection. A mob of charged particles with the power to upend civilizations. Alright. And it's always from a fear standpoint when it comes to the so-called sun. Yet you're synonymous with it. In fact, you go too many days without it and it's a different story for you. Alright. It says the cause of the ruckus is the sun's magnetic field. Alright. The sun's magnetic field. And we're just gonna leave it at that because we can refer to that energy. That's an energy we're familiar with on this channel. Right? The sun's magnetic energy. So we're just building on the fact that they're reporting in this article here that the sun is coming to end civilization. And how do you feel about it being in summertime right now? How are you dealing with the sun? Because we know the sun isn't necessarily close to us. It's actually at its furthest point right about now. So what about summertime makes it so hot? You know what I'm saying? And why would the sun be coming to end civilization? And why would they make it seem as in civilization in general and not a specific civilization? So, keep this in mind as we continue to surf the wave. We're going to start diving into answering these questions. Ahab to the tribe. Peace, peace. So, I was on my Twitter, and I so happened to see that Europe has these fires going on. All right, and they're over there talking about it's the worst it's ever been for them. And I thought to myself, like, this is not a coincidence. So I was interested in what was going on, and it made me tap in. Now, this can be all cap. I'm never one to not put it past them, but it's pretty interesting at the same time with the whole scare for global warming going on, and just considering that, we're really building on the melting of these ice caps, right? Because mama just wants her land back, you know what I'm saying? Big grandma just wants her land back, you know what I'm saying? So these ice caps are melting and they're shrinking. And I think they're more freaked out about what's behind this wall, right? As we'll see, we're going to try to do as many drops as we can, right? Try to dump them out, especially with the motivation of the real ones. But I think they're afraid of this ice cap melting, and you know what I'm saying, the possibilities that are coming is basically endless. But at the same time, not to jump off note, we're building on the fact that Europe is on fire right about now as they experience wildfires as a heat wave. It says that it sent temperatures soaring through the entire continent, while Britain headed for its highest temperature on the record. Now, I just want to say, my bad in advance if the sound isn't too catchy. I'm gonna do my best to get it recorded. It's only gonna be so loud, and I do have the AC on in the back, as you can tell. So I don't know. We'll do what we can, but apologies in advance. We'll go ahead and get this segment just in case. Peace.
Harrowing moment. Angel Martin Arjona narrowly escaped a fiery end in Spain. He was protecting his town in the Zamora region from a wildfire on Monday, just one of dozens burning through the country, when the blaze engulfed his excavator, forcing him to run for his life.
Now, like I said, right, this can be cap, but it is a trip. All right, nonetheless, they're saying that this is a serious situation, as we'll get more detail in just a bit. But as you can see, they're saying that this is the hottest Europe's ever been, at least according to them in their records, right? As far as their occupation, maybe. Remember, we're talking about a curse that was applied onto those that migrated into territories that were not theirs. If you go back and get part one, you know exactly what time it is right now. This is just a continuation. But, we're coming at it on a different avenue. You know what I'm saying? So, with keeping that in mind, let's get it back. Peace to the real ones.
Cameras captured the harrowing moment. Angel Martin Arjona narrowly escaped a fiery end in Spain. He was protecting his town in the Zamora region from a wildfire on Monday, just one of dozens burning through the country, when the blaze engulfed his excavator, forcing him to run for his life. And in the neighboring region of Galicia, train passenger Francisco Perez described what he called a hellish situation.
It was just like spreading through the air with air currents and maybe sparks that you could even see, but they were actually spreading and forming more and more fire on the ground. So just like when the train was resuming its march, I began smelling a little bit of a smoke. So that would have been really scary.
All across southern Europe was a familiar scene, compounding fears of climate change. A heat wave has sent temperatures soaring to blistering highs for more than a week, causing hundreds of deaths and leaving the countryside dangerously dry.
They said causing hundreds of deaths. Wow. Hundreds of deaths from this extreme heat. Alright. Now, I've seen that, since that number has definitely increased. We'll go ahead and continue to build on this, as we get further into this presentation. But, I mean, in all honesty, it's quite shocking. You know what I'm saying? Again, this can be capped. I'm not sure. They set California on fire a lot, but I haven't heard of hundreds of people dying. People, I don't even see homeless people from them fires per se. So this is extreme if this is the report coming out of Europe due to this heat wave they're experiencing.
Fire on the ground. So just like when the train was resuming its march, I began smelling a little bit of the smoke. So that would have been really scary.
All across southern Europe was a familiar scene, compounding fears of climate change. A heat wave has sent temperatures soaring to blistering highs for more than a week, causing hundreds of deaths and leaving the countryside dangerously dry, according to authorities. That means fires that burn much longer and spread much farther. Thousands of firefighters from Portugal to France were struggling to contain the blazes.
Okay, again, this could be cat, or it could be the real thing, you know what I'm saying? He is really asleep, homie is really asleep during such a catastrophic event. I don't know, but we're going to continue to follow the reports and, and just see what we got, if that's all right with the tribe. Hey,
Other people struggled simply to find any respite from the blazing sun.
In a way, it pleases me because people can realize that climate change has been on for a few years and that they're really in it. I'm not happily pleased, but it's a way for people to become aware.
And the heat wave.
All right, so you saw and heard how they're describing the sun, right? The sun is providing all of this intense energy, all of this light and so-called heat that it's burning things up. It's affecting them really heavily. And again, global warming, as they call it, seems to really be a topic that's pushed from, the regions and those that share, similar genetics of the sort, which is another thing to tap into and pay attention to, because the article we started out with was saying that the sun was bringing an end to civilization. All right. So we're going to bring it back just a little more, and we're going to continue on. Peace.
To contain the blazes. Other people struggled simply to find any respite from the blazing sun.
In a way, it pleases me because people can realize that climate change has been on for a few years and that they're really in it. I'm not happily pleased, but it's a way for people to become aware.
And the heat wave is creeping north. Temperatures in Britain are expected on Tuesday to reach a record-breaking 40 degrees Celsius or 104 degrees Fahrenheit. The government there has already triggered a national emergency alert, with some train companies and schools canceling services on the day. Britain's Luton.
He said that it's a national emergency. A national emergency. It's it's getting crazy out here. All right. And there are reports, it seems only to get worse as we collect it. So we're going to go ahead and carry on with the rest of the presentation. We're going to see what else we got. AHA to the tribe.
Some train companies and schools canceling services on the day. Britain's Luton Airport was partly shut after its tarmac melted in the heat. Britain's Luton Airport was partly shut after its tarmac melted in the heat.
Alright, so here we got another one, right? A heat wave broiling Europe continues to fuel wildfires in Spain's northeastern region of Catalonia. Firefighters are working around the clock to battle the flames that have encroached on residential areas and forced thousands of people to evacuate. Alright, so we're going to see what we got on this joint as well. Peace to the real ones, and Ahab again. That is to the code keepers, man. It's a beautiful flow. So it seems like they're experiencing crazy wildfires, right? Intense burning. It's almost as if the heat waves are highly concentrated specifically in that region, or at least it's been magnified to the point outside the norm, right? So for them, this is intense. They're not used to experiencing this much heat in that part of the world, and rightfully so. The so-called last ice age was keeping things pretty chill, but we know that the ice age was a remnant of a cataclysm that basically froze what we had popping off in Antarctica, you know what I'm saying, and the lands beyond. And we're going to get back to it. And, this is what, their concern is about, right? This global warming is the defrosting of such said ice age, and we move out of that once again, and we get back to the tropical zone. But that'd be a different conversation for a different time. Peace. I mean, again, I don't know if it's all cap, but homie right here doesn't seem like he's really doing anything. You know what I mean? He don't even, I don't know, he doesn't look like he's really trying. I mean, I know this is supposed to be a serious situation, but there's a lot of acting going on these days. You feel me? So it's really hard to tell what's really going on, even when there's footage. But, I'm not trying to laugh. I just thought that this was a bit, comical, because, I mean, he has a body full of water right here. I don't know. I don't know. I mean, again, these are tales right out of your script. You know what I'm saying? These are tales right out of your script that would say such things would occur, along with many more. You know what I'm saying? But we're just digging on this particular point right about now for part 2 of, this series. Go back and get part 1 if you haven't. We just starting up. I'm, you know, reeling them in per se. But here we have another story, another headline. Breaking. A large fire has broken out and has spread to a residential area in Wennington, Greater London, as temperatures exceed 40 degrees Celsius in the UK for the first time. Alright, this is tripping everybody out. You know what I mean? It's tripping everybody out. Right? So, we're going to go ahead and continue this flow. I hope everyone's keeping it pure water. I hope you're choosing it for your creator. And I hope you know how marvelous you are, because you are the miracle. That is the wondrous work of Hawa. You know what I mean? Peace, peace.
Just bring you some more on that fire in Wennington, those dramatic pictures we were bringing you from the Sky helicopter. London Fire Brigade have 15 fire engines due to attend this fire in Wennington. They don't know what building is on fire. We've been bringing you the pictures. So much smoke in the area, and it's dry grassland that has caused the problem. That seems to have caught fire, and the fire has quickly moved towards outbuildings and houses. We did spot in the picture that the blaze seems to be right next to the fire station. So we'll keep an eye on that. It's just one of the effects of these extreme temperatures we are feeling in the UK right now. Yesterday and today, the record temperature being set at 40.2 degrees Celsius in Heathrow.
So you can kind of hear the stress that's being expressed and the fierce scarcity they want to put around the sun, right? And how it's affecting them as they're dealing with temperatures like this for the first time ever, according to them. Okay. Now, this goes back into a lot of the curses that were expressed in part 1. And, as we continue to build on this series, we'll dive deeper into it. But, in part 1, we was kind of touching on these curses and how it was affecting those that decided to encroach land. All right. And this here is just a continuation of that curse, for the same way they would say the people of the book are cursed. Right? When we talk about Deuteronomy, so it goes both ways. Some deal with generational curses that are now sort of being lifted, and others are dealing with cultural appropriational curses. But for lack of better words, we're going to keep it saucy and we're going to flow on.
Right, Wennington there in Essex, temperatures there exceeding 40 degrees. And this is the result. There's been a number of wildfires over the last 24 hours, 24 recorded yesterday, and there have been quite a few today as well. That's the scene right now in Wennington, Essex, which is near Dart.
Alright, so here we have BBC News, and they're talking about how, how we saw in the first video of these, there's a man in Spain running for his life. Right? That's how they're depicting it. Which is why I'm not sure if this is entirely cap or not. It seems like it just based off the flow, but I'm not trying to talk down just because this channel can be assumed for being a certain way. So, it is what it is. Those who feel how they feel gonna feel how they feel. I'm not here to argue the validity in that at all. According to them, they're reporting that the sun is obviously creating this discomfort and, the burning of such properties and forces. Okay. So we're going to continue to build, and we're going to check this out. Peace.
Está metido. Sale corriendo.
I mean, what did he really expect, right? Like, he's not a firefighter, first of all. He doesn't have the proper clothing or equipment. Second of all, I mean, I don't know. I try not to put too much critical thinking into something like this. You know, people really will go out their way for a story to try to captivate the world as they're on fire. But it just goes to show either they didn't put too much thought into this in general, or it's a whole lot of capping going on. Either way, you know, this is something you just don't do. You know, you don't just face an inferno like this head up with nothing to show for yourself, nothing to hold you down. That's not registering. That's not making no sense. That ain't making no sense. So as we can see from this article, it's a lot going down in Europe, right? It also goes to show you just maybe what they mean when they say, here comes the sun to end civilization. And what or whose civilization specific? But this is no laughing matter. I mean, there are a lot of hazardous causes that arise from such an ordeal. And, you know, we're going to continue this slight investigation and see just exactly what else is being experienced throughout Europe. Right. They're saying, you know, the UK, Britain, you know, everybody's feeling it. London, you know, France, everybody's feeling it. It's a tough world out there. We're gonna see what else we got. Ahab. Here we have the Forbes article on their site. And it's talking about heat wave across Europe sparks wildfires and heat-related deaths. Heat-related deaths. Now, in the newscasting, we got hundreds of deaths, right? So let's dig on that. It says soaring temperatures across Europe have resulted in wildfires and hundreds of heat-related deaths as the continent battles a record-breaking heat wave that officials have linked to climate change. Heat-related deaths. Alright, and that only made me wonder what heat-related deaths were. You know, like I was really interested in what they were. So I went ahead and dove a little into it. And, you know, we'll see what we come up with. Right. It says 2 large wildfires that sparked last week in the pine forest just south of, I'm not sure what that would be, France, right? Have scorched more than 24,000 acres and forced 14,000 people to evacuate as only 1,200 firefighters tried to stop the blaze, which Lieutenant Colonel Oliver Shavat from the Fire and Rescue Service described as a Herculean job. Alright? So, they're out here trying to smash this thing. You got Spain dealing with their fires. They're dealing with heat-related deaths. Okay? Heat strokes of the sort. We're going to touch on it. We got Portugal experiencing such a loss. They said 659 people. Okay, you got Britain, London, and other parts of the UK. Right? Saying that they're all being hit the same way. So it made me want to, dig into this heat-related death even more. Like, how are people necessarily dying from heat? That's what's, that's what had me tripped out. Oh, okay, so here we have that word again, right? With them trying to display their version to it. Hundreds dead as extreme heat wave roils Europe. UK could break record. Right? They're on fire. They're saying it's record temps. I mean, look. Exceeding 100 degrees Fahrenheit in parts of the UK, Portugal, and Spain. From the way they're pitching it, it's only going to get worse. Right? When we bring it back, I mean, it's all of Europe. It ain't just the South. It's all of it. This is sort of what, California been going through for like the last 10 years. So this is just interesting. Heat-related deaths have been recorded across the continent. Heat-related deaths. Heat-related. I thought it was funny when, the elders was telling you to take care of your health, to get right with yourself, right? Take care of that body. Make sure you're synergizing with nature. You want to be synergizing with nature so you can withstand such a climate change and not potentially die due to related heat issues. But as usual, the populace never listens, right? The population at large don't listen, leaving ways for them to make, way for their own waste, their own disposal. Sometimes, you know, you just gotta let people do it to themselves. Sometimes, you know, the creator don't want you to do anything at all but to just observe. I feel like that's what I'm doing right about now. I'm just observing. Not doing much at all. You know? What else there is to do? What else is there to do? You know what I'm saying? We knew such things were possible. We know such things are on the way. We know we're getting close. Ahab. So, we saw an article that heat stroke was one of the heat-related ways that these deaths were being caused. And it says that heat stroke is the most serious heat-related illness. It occurs when the body can no longer control its temperature. The body's temperature rises rapidly, the sweating mechanism fails, and the body is unable to cool down. When heat stroke occurs, the body temperature can rise to 106 degrees Fahrenheit or higher within 10 to 15 minutes. Heat stroke. So there's no way that their bodies were able to let off the exhaust. Right? They weren't able to expel all the energy. It was too much. It's being trapped in them to the point where they can't cool down. They can't breathe, maybe. Very interesting. Very interesting. You know, I'm pretty sure this technically would happen to anyone caught in such a situation. But when you're dealing with the science and the approach on this channel, especially in the content provided, you see that we discuss a range of ideas that can help one be self-sufficient with the natural build they were given. It is such things that make us marvelous or miraculous or wondrous. You know what I mean? We're just building on it. We're talking about heat stroke. Heat stroke is the most serious heat-related illness. So is there a lot of heat strokes going on in Europe right about now? Is that what we can tally this up to? A lot of stroke of heat? We're gonna see what else we got. Here we have heat exhaustion. Heat exhaustion is a condition whose symptoms may include heavy sweating and a rapid pulse, a result of your body overheating. It's one of the 3 heat-related syndromes, with heat cramps being the mildest and heat stroke being the most severe. Causes of heat exhaustion include exposure to high temperatures, particularly when combined with high humidity and strenuous physical activity. Without prompt treatment, heat exhaustion can lead to heat stroke, a life-threatening condition. Fortunately, heat exhaustion is preventable. So, just thinking about how potentially our ancestors were tropical people, the exposure to high temperatures of heat and sunlight and humidity and strenuous physical activity, therefore giving you generations upon generations upon generations of conditioning to adapt to such things as heat exhaustion. Which is why you would be the miraculous marvel. that they wonder about, Shabbat. We're just talking about you. You know? It's a beautiful flow when we're dealing with the tribe. Just to let you know why, we're gonna jump into a little something. Ahab. Alright, so here we have Adamant, aka Adam. Right? He's the dark-skinned, physical man, new man. Adamah. Right? They say that the man Adam that is referred to in the book of Genesis was not the father of the entire human race, but that he was the father of one distinct group or line of peoples with certain racial characteristics. That is, that Adam was the father of what we have today come to call the Semitic peoples. We know, of course, that Adam in ancient Hebrew meant red earth. And speaking of red earth, by the way, we know that the account of man being formed of the red earth is one that is prevalent over the entire earth. Until a few years ago, just outside Athens in Greece, they will point to a red clay pit and say that was the clay Hawa molded man from. We know, however, that the word Adam or Adamah was a generic term and meant not one man, but a race of men or women, which was reddish in color, and many of the modern races of men, brown races, and certain branches of the red race was derived from that original root race, which was a literal red race. Alright? We're just talking about Adamant, the autochthonous one. Go back and get part 1 for the full dress up. So we just talking about you and the indigenous truth. Right? And we know that the melanation, right, those of Adamant can do quite well with the sun. And specifically, we know that Adamah being the red earth, well, where is the red earth? Specifically, in abundance. Right here in the Americas. Which is why they refer to us as the so-called red man. The same way it is with this so-called stock of Adamah, which we connected back to Shem in part 1. Alright? We're just digging on Adamant. It's a peace to the real ones. Ahab. See, there's this thing called spontaneous human combustion. Alright? And they say it's a pseudoscientific concept of combustion of a living or a recently deceased human body without an apparent external source of ignition. And I've seen reports of so-called trees going through this process called combustible vegetation. Alright, and it's in this combustible vegetation that tree, which is often likened to the human body, right? Especially those who are natural, able to catch flame from the inside out by a burst or igniting of energy from within the tree. So I'm pretty sure those who aren't heavily pigmented have enough spirit energy for that spirit energy to sort of have a supernova, if you will, within the body. I mean, at the end of the day, we are all stardust, and stars supposedly explode. Oh man, right? Combustible vegetation, spontaneous human combustion. They want to say that this is a so-called myth, but it happens with trees. Furthermore, as we carry on, right, we're digging on Adamant. Adamant is a word translatable to as ground or earth, right? The dust of the ground, as we got in part 1, right? In Hebrew, Adamah is a feminine form. The word has a strong connections with women in theology. One analogy is that Adamah is to man as a woman is to her husband. A man has a duty to cultivate the earth in the same way that a husband has a duty to be fruitful with his wife. Alright? Adamant, which is why I was speaking on it in a unisex term for womb man and man. Alright, and when we further break it down, Adamah literally means red, right? As in designating red clay or the red ground. Because we're talking about melanation, copper tone, copper color ones. Alright. They want to say that it's a correlation to the ground. Okay, for sure. But only by way of autogenous vibes. If you know how I'm building. Alright? I'm talking red. Rojo. We're going to carry on to the next one. Peace. Question of complexion. Sip some water real quick and we're going to dive in. Okay, we got the tendency of scientific thought and ethnology is in the direction of giving more and more importance to the race characteristics such as height, color of the hair, eyes, skin, and the formation of the skull and body generally than to language. The language possessed by a people may be merely the result of conquest or migration. For instance, in the United States today, white, black, and red men, the descendants of French, Spanish, Italians, Mexicans, Irish, Germans, Scandinavians, Africans, all speak the English language. And by the test of the language, they are all English men. And yet none of them are connected by birth or descent with the country where that language was developed. There is a general misconception as to the color of the European and American races. Europe is supposed to be peopled exclusively by white men, but in reality, every shade of color is represented on that continent, from the fair complexion of the fairest of the Swedes to the dark-skinned inhabitants of the Mediterranean coast. only a shade lighter than the Berbers or Moors on the opposite side of that sea. Tacitus spoke of the black Celts, and the term, so far as complexion goes, may not inappropriately be applied to some of the Italian, Spaniards, and Portuguese, while the Basques are represented as a still darker hue. So you see how we jump straight back into those countries that are now on fire as we currently speak. Notice how we're also talking about a people who were of darker hue who would not be perishing up under that sun right about now, and that wouldn't see it as an end to their civilization. It says, Tyler says of Anthropology, page 67, on the whole, it seems that the distinction of color from the fairest Englishman to the darkest African has no hard and fast lines, but varies gradually from one tint to another. And when we turn to America, we find that the popular opinion that all Indians are red men and of the same hue from Patagonia to Hudson Bay is a gross error. And here we are to build on it, right? Because as we just got, Adamant is the progenitor or the first man to a particular race of men, that being the red man. All right. Pritchard says in the researches into the physical history of mankind, volume 1, page 269 of the 4th edition of year 1841, it will be easy to show that the American races showed nearly as great a variety in this respect as the nations of the old continent, which is where they get, in comparison to so-called Africa. Because in the Afar or the Afrik, you have the most diverse, spectrum of just types of people. It's very diverse over there. You know what I'm saying? And I wouldn't expect it from anywhere else. It says there are among them white races with a florid complexion and tribes black or of a very dark hue, that their stature, figure, and countenance are almost equally diversified. John T. Short says North Americans of Antiquity in page 189. The Menominee, sometimes called the White Indians, formerly occupied the region bordering on Lake Michigan around Green Bay. The whiteness of these Indians, which is compared to that of white mulattoes, which is a really pale, light-skinned complexion, but even mulattoes are still golden, and they carry a phenotype specifically that puts them in a place of uncertainty. Right? It says early attracted the attention of the Jesuit missionaries and has often been commented on by travelers. While it is true that hybridity has done much to lighten the color of many of the tribes, still the particularity of the complexion of this people has been marked since the first time a European encountered them. Almost every shade from the ash color of the Menominee through the cinnamon red, copper, and bronze tints may be found among the tribes formerly occupying the territory cast of the Mississippi until we reach the dark-skinned Cauls of Kansas, who are nearly as black as the Negro. The variety of complexion is as great in South America as the tribes of the northern part of the continent. All right. says we, in the footnote, page 107 of the U.S. explorations for a railroad route to the Pacific Ocean, we are told many of the Indians of Zuni, New Mexico are white. They have fair skin, blue eyes, chestnut or auburn hair, and are quite good looking. They claim to be full-blooded Zunians and have no tradition of intermarriage with any foreign race. The circumstance creates no surprise among this people, for from time immemorial a similar class of people has existed among the tribe. It says, Winchell says the ancient Indians of California in the latitude of 42 degrees were as black as the Negroes of Guinea, while in Mexico were tribes of an olive or reddish complexion, relatively light. Among the black races of the tropical regions, we find generally some light-colored tribes interspread. They sometimes have light-colored hair, light hair, and blue eyes. This is the case with the Tuareg of the Sahara and the Afghans of India and the Aborigines of the banks of the Orinoco and the Amazon. Shout outs to the Orinoco. Alright, we're just talking about the Amazon. So you see, even in these accounts as we're getting, we're talking about the red, right? And the red being of the melanated races, the red being specifically tied into this part of the realm, this part of the plane. Alright, and they're saying that, even over here, not all so-called Indians were of the same complexion, giving more prominence to the fact that we're building on Adamant. We're talking about specifically the copper-colored races, the red clay, the so-called brown ones, the melanation. Alright, that's specifically what we're building on. So keep in mind, we're building on Adamant, alright? Because we're going to take you to a region that, we've touched on before, but it seems that video has been taken down right about now. So, we're going to do what we can to get it back. Hey, how to the real ones. We're going to jump into the next presentation. Peace. Now, this would just be a reaction type situation. You know what I'm saying? It has been a well worded presentation thus far. I see no reason for anything to be flagged or considered otherwise, but just in case we can't factor this in, I'll cut it out right about now. We're gonna dig on this particular clip. I won't say the name just in case, but in case this part didn't make it, I'll leave the link to the example I'm trying to get into in the description box. This will be the point in time of the video. You press pause and jump into that description box and hit play, and get this part as you can. And you'll just notice in the beginning, before I hit play, that you can see why I was mentioning the so-called Antarctica drop based off the title of this trailer. Again, we're gonna go ahead and react to it under the fair use. It should be no big deal, but just in case it is, what I'm saying, my bad for that in advance. Peace. So straight out the gate, we're talking about allusions to the so-called Merkaba, or what they want to refer to as a spacecraft, spaceship, UFO, a Bugatti spaceship. You know what I'm saying? We always get back into the mix if you surfing the wave. But peep the Iceland, peep the ice cap. You know what I'm saying? Shabbat, peep the ice cap one time with your man. You know what I'm saying? Peep the ice cap. And yeah, we are digging on, the term, right? As you saw, so-called, right? And this is how you know they're throwing it back into your face, because we just did the work on proving the melanation in such a term. We're just digging on Adamant. But look at the ice cap, all right? We're just getting to it, Shout out to that man, 432. We talking con drop. Lego.
Black Adam, what have your powers ever given to you? Nothing but heartache. I was a slave until I died.
Alright, notice how he said that. Alright, keep in mind, we're going to key on the fact that he said, notice I was a slave until I died. Alright, keep in mind on what the name is and what he's being referred to as. Alright, exactly. This part right here. Okay, keep this in mind, because that's what we're building on. Ahab.
What have your powers ever given to you? Nothing but heartache. I was a slave until I died. Then I was reborn a god.
That should sound kind of familiar to you, just so you know. Alright, just so you know. That should be, kind of familiar. We're going to get it back one more.
Nothing but heartache. I was a slave until I died. Then I was reborn a god. My son sacrificed his life to save me. Open fire! Now, I kneel before no one. Going on outside when they safe from. In this world, there are heroes. I feel the pain of my city wherever I go. And there are villains. Heroes don't kill people.
Alright, so getting to the point, right? We're seeing how he said at this point he bows to no one. And this is sounding familiar when we're talking about no power before your power. Notice that they opened it up with what will your power do for you? When you align yourself with putting no power before your power, you no longer need to bow or kneel to anything. All right? And this goes for, the traps that they throw out there in these other religions. A lot of these other religions require one to bow or take the knee. This is something that we don't condone right here at 432. Just continue to surf the wave.
Now, I kneel before no one. Going on outside when they safe from. In this world, there are heroes. My vision has shown me the future. You have two choices. You can be the destroyer of this world, or you can be its savior. That's up.
I want you to pay attention to this part of his chest, as you can see, right? Now, I've touched on this drop before, but that's the video that's kind of deleted right about now. I gotta see if I can work something out for y'all. Maybe get a re-upload or some sort, but pay attention to this, right? Because you know what? Let's get it real quick for the real ones. Let's get it real quick in real life time, right? Because astonish. Remember I told you to remember astonish, right? We're digging on astonish, and the etymology is to thunder, as in to stun or daze. Remember, we're just building on a wonder, right? Which is an act of an object of astonishment, restoring itself from a miracle, being a wondrous work of Hawa as a marvel, which is of Hawa, or the Elohim, as you can see. All right, so when digging on this, you see the thunder. All right, the thunderbolt symbol right there in his chest, correlating the astonishment. And in his name, obviously you can compare oneself, since we already got the breakdown of Adamant. All right, and they chose him for a specific reason, right? Being who his father is, he by paternal seed line is a Khan because of his father. Notice this, right? Notice his name. The astonishment, we're linking back to the breakdown of the wording. Now, I know you're going to say, yeah, this is DC. I understand. We're going to get to that. Trust. It all ties up like it always do. Just like how when we was digging on the complexions for those cities in Europe, or those countries in Europe that are, currently on fire right about now. It all coincides. It's all linked up. It's aligned. Peace, peace.
That's up to you.
Behind you!
Did he just catch a rocket? He got a rocket.
You see what I'm saying? Do you see what I'm saying? Do you feel the charge as it's building Shabbat? You see it in your face. We're going to go ahead and get to the next one. Hey, hi. Alright, so here we have this build on Black Adam. Alright, this is something that we've touched before on this channel. I think the video that I've done originally for it is on my Patreon, but like I said, my Patreon is no longer available at the moment. At least this video. I'll have to see if maybe I can upload it. We'll see. If those who are watching this more interested in that drop, please let me know by way of comments, so I can go ahead and put it together for you guys. But we digging on Black Adam. Alright, and he's a character and is one of the arch enemies of the superhero Captain Marvel and the nemesis of the Marvel family. Alright, so for those that have seen Shazam, I believe the nemesis in that particular drop was supposed to be Black Adam. But, they gave the character to somebody else for a potential link up after this film drops. But, you see where the Marvel ties in from, right? So the Marvel family, also known as the Shazam family, are a group of superheroes who originally appeared in books published by the comic and such and such. Spoiler alert for those who don't know, and for those who do know more so. At least from the movie's point of view, the Marvel family ended up being the family that he was adopted to, right? That he was fostered with. They became his family, so they are the Marvel family. But when you actually pay attention to what's going on, especially at the hidden occultic code they're throwing at you, we're really talking about you. Right? Bring it up. We're talking about you. All right, this is what we're digging on. And this is not a game, you know, because Adamah means the red clay or the red ground, right? And that's what we're building on. Con? So they supposedly call him Teth Adam, which means mighty. All right. I mean, you can't make this up. Okay, now they were referring to him as a slave. Now it's crazy how, you know, they always bring up that narrative. And this is kind of where we left off in the Canaanites part 8, right? In the Canaanites part 8, we leave off discontinuing this narrative of a slave and being introduced into this godhood-like mentality. And that's pretty much the vibration this is picking up on as well. So this is even jumping back now into Canaanites part 8. It's a fusion. And that's how I like my drops, to be a fusion. Alright. So we're piggybacking off part 1 and also the Canaanites part 8, along with another drop. I think it's the carbon bodies of the Adamant Ruddy, or the Ruddy Adamant. And I've been kind of highlighting at this stuff, you know, in my own way, but it's amazing how I see it. You know what I'm saying? So I just hope that this inspires those that it's supposed to. We're going to get to the next one. So here we have the mighty Adamah, right? Or prime earth. Mind you, we said how Adamah is the red clay, the red ground, the red earth. Alright? So when we're building on Black Adamah, which is really the same thing twice, right? It was an ancient Egyptian slave. Now I just want you to stop right there. Alright? Because as far as you know from your tales of the script, who were the ancient Egyptian slaves? In narrative. You know what I'm saying? In narrative. Come on, somebody down there say it. Somebody give it to us. Any participants? Any participants? Just for the sake of the answer. Who are considered to be the ancient Egyptian slaves? Those who were put under captivity and subjugation of the so-called Egyptian. That's right. That's right. Hey, hi to the family out there. You know what I'm saying? Yes, we talking about none other than so-called Yasharah. You know what I'm saying? Israel. And Pete. Okay, Pete the Thunder, once again. To stun, daze, deafen, astound. To leave someone thunderstruck. Amazed, shocked with wonder. Wonder, a marvelous thing, a miracle, an object of astonishment. Right? Wow. We're just talking Israelites. You see how they do this? And we're still in DC. We're still in DC. We're just talking Israelites. As an ancient Egyptian slave, there are no so-called Egyptian slaves more known or renowned than the Israelites. So-called Hebrews. We're just still talking Shem from part 1. You know, but this is all in your face. Alright? This is all in your face. And you go back and you watch Shazam now, you're gonna see it differently. Now it says, Teth Adam was a slave in Kandak, where almost the entirety of his family was killed by the dictators, all except his nephew Aman, who Adamant eventually managed to contact and help escape from imprisonment, being mortally wounded by guards in order to buy him time. Aman, however, refused to abandon his dying uncle and rescued him. Together, while escaping the underground prisons, they found themselves magically transported into the Rock of Eternity, where they were greeted by Shazam. The wizard demon Amen Pure offered him the role of his champion, giving him the task of freeing Kandak, which Amen accepted on the condition that Shazam healed Adam, explaining that the gift bestowed upon him could be shared with his family. Shazam gave Aman his powers, healing and empowering Adam in the process. What I want to bring your attention to is how they magically, oh man, get the hijack out of here, right? How they magically transported themselves to this rock of eternity. All right. I want to focus on that, if you will, on this rock of eternity. All right, because I'm going to show you something where this all interconnects and why we're calling this the tell of the script. The rock of eternity, to those who are well in depth with the lesson, who are really into those scripts, their ancestral writings, know exactly what this is, and this is how you know they're ultimately still talking about you, people of the book. Peace, peace. So here we have the Rock of Eternity presented in the Shazam comic. Alright. And the Rock of Eternity was a layer of the wizard Shazam created from a large rock formation from heaven and another from hell by Shazam. The rock is a focal point of all magic on earth. Whoever is chosen as the rock's guardian becomes bound to the rock and can only leave it for 24 hours before he or she has to return. So I'm going to show you where they pretty much spun this off once again, right from your ancient stories, your ancient script, your ancient love song. They tend to borrow from your Ama, your Abba, that is your mama, and your father, and they give you a watered down version of what's already in your DNA. Right? They mix a little bit of truth with a lot of lie in the attempt to capture your mind. Alright, but we're gonna really get to what this rock of eternity is, because I've spoken on it before in the ether over at 432thedrop.com on the Naturalist. But since, we're in such a good mood and this is such a pure water flow, we're going to go ahead and get it for the tribe. So let's get it one time. In that day shall this song be sung in the land of Judah. We have a strong city. Walls and bulwarks doth he appoint for salvation. Open ye the gates, that the righteous nation that keepeth faithfulness may enter in. The mind stay on thee thou keepest in perfect peace, because it is truest in thee. Trust ye in the Most High forever, for the Most High Hawa is your Ama Abba, an everlasting rock. For he hath brought down them that dwell on the high, the lofty city, laying it low, laying it down even to the ground, bringing it even to the dust. 26:4, Isaiah 26:4. Okay, we are in Isaiah 26, verse 4. Trust ye in the Most High forever, for the Most High is Hoah, an everlasting rock. An everlasting rock. You hear that? Rock of eternity. Rock of eternity, everlasting rock. It's the same thing. Only our ancient scripts, our ancestral writings tell us that if we keep our peace with the Most High through steadfast trust, we will have that everlasting rock. For that everlasting rock is the Most High. You understand? Do you understand, overstand? This is the rock of eternity, right? And it is the rock of eternity that we use to build the pyramids with, which themselves are the everlasting rock. We're just talking about faith in the Most High. We're just talking about Judah. We're talking about the nations, the tribes. We're just talking about our priests, our prophets, our aquas, our priestess. You know what I'm saying? I'm just keeping it real. Everlasting rock. Talking about the rock of eternity. And I bet you go watch that Shazam, you really gonna trip out now. And we're gonna have something for that. Hopefully the Patreon will be back up. You know what I'm saying? And we can really go hard at that. You know what I mean? I'm gonna look into it while this develops. We're gonna really go hard into it. You know, but we're just talking about Black Adam. Right. We're just talking about Black Adam. And we know so-called Adamant was a dark-skinned man because this is why it's displayed here. Alright. So, hey, hi to everybody that's tapped in. I'd like to, say thank you for, Tawada for just flowing with us for another beautiful, marvelous presentation. And this is part 2, Tales from the Script. Catch you guys next time.